So today, we're going to cover something very interesting about cyber breaches in real-world breach in the business world. So we'll talk about three cases here. One is the Panama paper in 2016. One is Deloitte. One is Accenture. If you are familiar with the business world, you know Deloitte and Accenture, they are just big names in business world, in consulting, in accounting world. Here, just some disclaimer. It's basically talking about the copyright issue, fair use approach, blah, blah, blah. So I skip that. So let me start with Panama paper. The Panama paper, okay, that happens in 2016. And I know many of you probably never heard of these things, but in some countries, this Panama paper actually causing some chaos, political chaos. So what happened is there's a huge information leak from a law firm called Mossack Fonseca in Panama. I don't know how to pronounce that name. But anyway, let me actually bring up the websites here. So this, their company's websites, and well, doesn't look good. This is a broken link. Anyway, that's their websites, and they have a lot of controversial things going on with their websites. Okay. Anyway, so that public news was made on April 2016, and it's published by a German newspaper, and that was actually, I think the hackers hack into the websites and giving all the information to this organization called International Consortium of Investigative Journalists. Okay, because what happened is there's a lot of political figures or rich person was involved because they are doing a lot of offshore companies, and they actually do the investigation a year ago. So let's actually watch a video here. So let me just highlight what's happening. 2.6 trillion raw data, okay? 11 million documents, including PDF, email, image, database file, and data for more than 40 years. And probably one of the largest information leak in history. You probably are familiar with Snowden leaking. Snowden is more political side. We don't talk about that. But the Panama paper, in terms of the number of information, the scale is much larger scale. Okay, those are on the business side. So the important thing is expose numerous offshore companies, and those offshore companies used by those rich people. And they can do good things, but the majority purpose is to do some illegal or like the tax, hoard money, or some kind of not so good things. Okay, you see like the Prime Minister of Iceland. I think he resigned a few weeks after the Panama paper breach, and the Russian Prime Minister Putin. And I think even Cameron, the British former Prime Minister Cameron, his father was involved in the state breach. Okay, so that's more like economic, political side than social side than the economic impact. Okay, so exactly what happens? There are many theories behind it. Some people, because interesting thing is this is an international thing, and no American's name was mentioned here. So some people come up with some kind of conspiracy theory. But we just talk about a hacking theory here. Again, we don't know all the details, but we know some enough details, okay, to piece together a picture. So a hacking theory is basically starting with a hacked email server, okay, and also with an unpatched web server using WordPress and Drupal. Okay, if you are familiar with security, you see the WordPress and Drupal. That's a very common name, particularly with the WordPress, especially it's unpatched. And that's something called content management system. If you have those, you need to keep patching it because those are very notorious for vulnerabilities. So what happened is the company have two main websites, and it's front-facing websites running on WordPress. And they also have a back-end customer portal website for sharing sensitive information, and that is running Drupal. Okay? So what happened is the WordPress, they find out the company's WordPress software is out of date, and they didn't update things. Okay? And inside WordPress, they are using a software called a Revolution Slider. That's just a way help you to build websites. And that plugin is seriously outdated. So the version of Revolutionary Slider, they running at 2.17, okay? And all the version on below 2.0.95 are vulnerable to this type of attack. So they are using some very out-of-dated software on their website. Another possible way for the hacking, it's on the Drupal websites. So the Mosaic Fonseca websites, they run Drupal with version 2.23. And actually there's a nightmare security patch before all the version of 7.32. So if the people have not patched their site the same day the patch was released, and they suggest you should assume your stuff was already hacked, and you should start a fresh installation. So that's the severity of that Drupal hack. And the interesting thing is that breach was released in 2014, and you can see it's almost a year, 2 years. This was released in 2016. The hack happens in 2015. So that gave the hacker enough time to actually hack into your websites. Okay, so that's something, again, you see unpatched websites again. So all this talking about the patch. The Drupal security warning was issued in October 2014. The WordPress security warning was issued in November 2014. So, and apparently the company didn't do any kind of updates for several months. Okay, that gave plenty of the time for the hacker to play around. You need to know the hackers are also using some automated tools to scanning on the internet. So the hackers build a script, and he will be able to use that script to scan every single website on the internet, okay, for that specific vulnerability. And if your website was not patched, you shouldn't expect that you can hide somewhere, nobody can see you, you think you are safe. That's not the case on internet. As I emphasized again and again, on the internet, the hackers are writing these automated tools to actively looking for vulnerable people, vulnerable websites. So that's happened in the Panama paper, that happens in the Equifax paper. You should never assume you are safe. You should always assume you are being attacked. Okay, I think I probably shows you the exploit DB, that website in the past. And that website, actually you can find about these two vulnerabilities. So let's actually take a look at these two vulnerabilities. So this is a WordPress plugin causing the problem. So this shows you where is the issue, and it actually shows you the hacking code you'll be able to use to crack it, okay? And this shows you another vulnerability, which is Drupal SQL injection vulnerability. And you can see it's fairly interesting how people can just inject it, hack it. So the third possible entry for the email hacking are the email servers. We don't know the exact detail of how the email hacking works, but some of the people from the company saying probably have something to do with email hacking. It could be the email itself, or could be the email server itself. Okay, and many different possible things could happen behind this. So we don't know too much detail on the email server hacking. But people did notice, like on the Mosaic Fazanca company, their email server and their web server on the same network. In the past, we usually put those in something called a DMZ zone. So demilitarized zone, okay? But no longer this considered to be safe enough. Usually we want to do some kind of isolation between the email servers and the web servers. And DMZ zone itself probably not enough. We need some better network isolation and some better network solution. And this shows you after they were hacked, they try to change their hosting companies. So those are just some additional information about how the things happens. Okay, the Deloitte data breach happens in 2017. Okay, so who is Deloitte? Okay, Deloitte is actually one of the big four accounting firms. Deloitte is actually one of the big four accounting firms, okay, and one of the largest professional service network in the country, in the world, okay. Deloitte is actually a UK multinational firm, and they have operation header in New York City, okay. And even more interestingly, Deloitte is Gartner's Security Consultancy of the Year, okay. So Gartner, if you know, that's one of the pretty famous organization which they always doing the business evaluation about who is the best in which sector. And ironically, Deloitte become the top number one in security consultancy. So let's actually take a look at their websites here. This is the Deloitte websites. So this Deloitte websites, they have many different things they can do. They do a lot of things. If you take a look at a service, and they do a lot of consulting parts, and you can see one of the things they do are risk assessment, so cyber risk. So they actually doing a lot of cyber security related consulting stuff, and they actually provide a lot of useful links they have, okay? So that's their websites. And the most interesting thing is this company was hacked. It's not really hacked, it's information was leaked. So this is about a screenshot from the Gartner 2017 report. In their market share analysis for the security consulting firms, Deloitte is number one. You can see in 2015 they are number one. In 2016 they are number one. They are pretty consistent. So in terms of the market value, the revenue, and you compare with the second place, they are far bigger than the second place. And their growth rate, you can see they're 40%. So it's pretty high growth rate. So they are much better than the second place for the Deloitte. And, but I think this instance will hit their business really hard. It's a little bit embarrassing. And this is the web page showing their cyber risk web page, which I just showed you, okay? If you get a chance, you can take a look. And what happened is, if you notice the time here, it's September 2017, so it's just about a week ago, a month ago, okay? Interesting thing is, this is the article you can get the source of that article from here. So basically the title of this is Deloitte, It's a Sitting Dark. Key system with RDP, Remote Desktop Protocol, RDP, that's Remote Desktop, VPN, and the proxy login detail leaked. And yes, this is Gartner Security Consultancy of the Year. And this happens in September this year. Okay, so let's actually take a look at what happened. Okay, I merged source from several different news sources, so give you some idea. So over 5 million internal documents in Deloitte were leaked, and many of these contain some sensitive information. And the hack started as early as October 2016. And Deloitte does not really find out the hack until March 2017. Now, most of you probably never heard of this case, or you probably just heard from me. The reason is because Deloitte tried to downplay the data leak. And because their customers are mainly corporations, so they are actually in a much better position to scale down the things. Okay, so unlike consumer, if this is something happens on the consumer, like Equifax, the anger will outbreak and things will getting out of control. But if you are dealing with corporate partner, corporate customer, things are a lot easier to be controlled. And that's the reason why this does not really make a headline news. Most news media didn't cover that, okay? But because they are dealing with a lot of sensitive corporate information, so the damage could be potentially very huge. And even worse than that, okay, that's my point here. Deloitte find about the hack in March 2017, and they try to downplay it, and they say we are safe, try to assure everybody they are safe. But 6 months later, in September, okay, the one you just saw here, some other people find out, wow, there's a lot of leaking information about Deloitte on the internet. So on September 2017, a collection of Deloitte corporate VPN password, username, and operation details were found in the GitHub repository. Now, for those of you who don't know what is GitHub, GitHub is basically an online repository, allow the IT people to put their code there. So you can put your code, you write some, for example, you write some really nice software, you want to share it with the public, you can put in the GitHub. And that will allows you to do very good things like version management or share it with other people. And that's why GitHub become very popular among the programmers or developers, okay? And of course, GitHub is public. It's accessible to everyone. So usually you probably should never put your, I don't understand why they put their VPN password, username, and those information on the GitHub. But somehow some people did do that, okay? And in addition, it appeared like one of the employee upload the company's proxy login credential to his Google Plus page. Okay, that is something really weird. And I don't know why he do this, okay? He probably just for his convenience, easy access, but Google Plus, that is a web page, have public access. Even though you can set it to be private, but it's not very reliable. You should never rely on the protection from Google. And you put your login credential there, that's something really weird. And it was said they has been there for 6 months. Okay, and here are some screenshots. Now, for example, like RDPs, like this is the IP address, this is the username, this is the password, this is another about some VPN credentials for Deloitte. That's the VPN, the username and the password, the flash database information, some websites, some other flash database information with username and password listed here. It's pretty amazing. How could someone put these things in the GitHub? Okay, all of this gear should be hid behind a firewall or with some kind of two-factor authentication, which are recommended best practice, the Deloitte recommended to the customer. So however, Deloitte in themselves didn't do this. And this is the code from the security expert. Just in one day, the security expert found about 7,000 to 12,000 open hosts across the globe. Okay, that's a huge number. I mean, if you have maybe several remote desktop computer enabled, that's okay. Like Michigan Tech, we have some remote desktop, but you don't want to have way too many of them open. And here they have thousands of them open on the internet. Okay, and I'm pretty sure if you have something like this number, you probably didn't do a lot of security protection on them, and that could causing issues. So this is like the remote desktop connection, and people actually get their information about the Deloitte. Okay, and here is a screenshot about the their desktop. Okay, so Deloitte's U.S. office have everything from NetBIOS to remote desktop to Exchange admin, single factor, everything. They should get a security audit. Okay, so they have all this kind of things open to the internet. Okay, that alone itself, again, let me put it this way. Again, using remote desktop, it's okay. Okay, so providing this kind of stuff, it's okay, as long as you have good security protection on them. You don't want to expose way too many of them. If you have several thousand of them open, most likely you are not doing very good protection. Okay, and as I said, remote desktop is probably not a very good way in terms of security. So there are some embarrassing moments for the Deloitte Breach. Okay, they are so-called #1 in security consultancy by the Gartner. Okay, and they fail to follow the security suggestion they gave to their clients themselves. Okay, and they are using Google Plus web page as a notebook for password, and the GitHub as an online storage. Okay, so that's are pretty embarrassing things to happen. Now, what I want you to think is actually think deeper than that. You want to think, why would people make mistake? You cannot just blame people for saying they are dumb or stupid or what. That doesn't help the issue. Okay, you actually see the human weaknesses, even though we know this is not good. However, for convenience or for ignorance or for whatever reason, we tend to do something like this. Or even if for a company of 100 people, maybe 99 people just follow the security rules, but there's always maybe just one people didn't follow that rules. That's enough. Okay, so you want to figure out is what is really behind these things. Is that an education or training issue? Or is that a management issue? Or is that because of human nature? We as security people, we need to repent what we do, what we ask for the clients. Okay, so this is much more complicated than just simply blaming people on security breach. Okay, you could think about this question yourself. Similarly, we have just right after the Deloitte, we have another called Accenture Breach. Okay, so that's another embarrassing moment for Accenture. This is embarrassing data leak business data in public Amazon 3 bucket. So if you know what is Amazon cloud, basically nowadays a lot of companies are moving towards Amazon cloud, so they upload their information to the Amazon. Okay. The only issue is when you're uploading those data to the Amazon, you need to make sure you set the privacy access right correct, with public, with private, or with unlisted, whatever the privacy you want to do. So here, they actually put a lot of important information on the public Amazon server. So the leading global professional service company, Accenture, exposed its business data in a public Amazon S3 bucket. Okay, and so that's another thing happens. And that incident exposed internal private key, secret API, and other information. And it's actually pretty dangerous things. Okay, so a little bit information about Accenture. Who is Accenture? Accenture is a global management consulting professional services company, provide all kinds of consulting services, and is actually one of the big Fortune 500 company, and headquartered in Dublin. Okay, and the company report net revenue of $34 billion US, and with almost 500,000 employees. Okay, within 200 cities and 120 countries. So it's a multi-billion company. It's a large company. So what happened is in October, just this month, okay, the Accenture exposed its business data in the public Amazon bucket. Bucket you can just think about as a server. Okay, this incident exposed internal private key, secret API, and other information. This unsecure bucket was discovered by the researcher called UpGuard, and they reported things to Accenture. Okay, so again, because their clients, it's corporation, so this case again was downplayed and does not cause any headline news. But if you combine all these things together, you see some very interesting thing. Okay, what's happening with all those business world? Okay, there's probably a lot more we need to do. Okay, here are just some screenshots. Okay, this shows the screenshot from the Amazon website, from the company. So like the management, they show different servers, and you can see they have a lot of like username, password, okay, and even have username and password listed here. Okay, some IDs. Okay, so it's a little bit scary if they have all this information actually available publicly. Okay, so here are some report from the UpGuard. So the UpGuard cyber risk team now retrieved that Accenture, okay, left at least 4 cloud-based storage server, unsecure and publicly downloadable. Okay, that's pretty scary. Okay, and especially nowadays, you see everybody is moving towards cloud, but not everybody fully understand the cloud security. So people uploading unnecessary data and exposing those data unprotected. So those include the secret API, authentication login credentials, certificates, decryption keys, customer info, and other data. Okay? And taking together the significance of this, it's hard to overestimate. So if the hackers could use many of this important information to launch a malicious attack. Okay, so this information are very valuable, especially they are for the corporate. So it could causing a lot of financial damage. And of course, as always, Accenture is trying to downplay the leak. So you can see here's their explanation. Okay, they said there was no risk to any of our clients. Again, no risk, no active credential. Again, they try to see those credentials are expired. No PIIs or other sensitive information was compromised. So they think those information are outdated. And they said we have multi-layer security models, and the data in question would not have allowed anyone found it to penetrate any of those layers. So again, they're trying to say they are protected. The information involved could not only have provided access to client system and was not production data or application. So now let's talk a little bit about the kill the train for cyber breaches. I'll do this very quickly. So first thing is, who are the hackers? They can be organized crimes, they can be hackers, they can be state, they can be hacktivists, they can be researchers. And most data breaches was actually caused by missing patches or updates. So you need to constantly patch or vulnerability scanning, or misconfiguration of the system, or not hardened. You need to harden your system, not applying principle of least privilege. So you need to make sure you just have a strict access right, or human errors or ignorance. So you need to educate your end users. So this just basically showing some of the kill the train in the cyber attack. So for example, this is a phishing email. Then once the hacker send the email, and you can use some spam filter to filter out. And if the user click the link, you can just do some education, educate them, tell this is a phishing link. So even if the user start clicking those links, you can still use some kind of web filter to just warn the users. So if the user enter username and password, you need to warn the user, do some training saying this is very suspicious. So even if the hacker get stolen password, then you can do periodical password reset. Even if they log in with the stolen credential, you can do multi-factor authentication to stop it. And if the hacker hack into the database, hack into the network, you can do intrusion monitoring, all kinds of security things. When the hacker doing privilege escalation, you need to do all kinds of things like privilege account management. And if they start stealing valuable data, you need to have multiple security systems trying to closely monitor those data. And if they start downloading the data, you just monitor the traffic in the firewall. So once the data on sale in the black market, you can get a federal agency involved. And if everything really happens, everything become public, you need to do good incident response to minimize the damage. Okay, so some of those best practice like patch or harden the system, educate the users, apply the principle of least privilege, understand your system, and implement controls. And here are two links. One of them is the CIS critical security controls. The other is ATT and the CK matrix for more information. I'm not going to cover this here, but for those who are interested, you can take a look. The last part is really talking about a new era of mega leaking. So you start seeing many of the hackers are not financially motivated. They are politically motivated or ideological motivated, some kind of a social justice. Okay, so every company should evaluate the security of the data and to who you trust to store your data. Okay, and we all know there's a Moore's law of CPU. Basically means CPU, the chip density doubles every 2 years.
roughly translate into like CPU speed doubles every 2 years. So we have a similar Moore's law of leaking. Okay, we just need to figure out the scale of information leak doubles how many years. Like in 70s you have Pentagon paper leak, 2010 you have WikiLeaks, 2015 you have Panama paper leak. If you merged all the data together, you should be able to get a Moore's law of information leaking. Okay, here are some additional resources about the Panama paper, Deloitte, and Accenture. Okay, thanks.